The cost of flights from the Philippines to almost anywhere in the world has seen a noticeable shift from pre-COVID times to post-pandemic. Before COVID, flight prices were generally used to be stable, mostly due to seasonal demand like holidays, festivals, Christmas, etc. Budget airlines offered competitive rates, making travel affordable, and there were frequent flights from various carriers, ensuring healthy competition. And that kept prices in check. Now, obviously, there was a sharp decline in travel during COVID, and restrictions led to a drastic drop in flights or completely stopped altogether. And this led to skyrocketing prices for remaining flights for those few that were available. Now, together with the added cost of complying with health protocols and increased costs of traveling to most places in the world, or it made it unfeasible. Now, since COVID, while more flights have resumed, the cost of flights have generally gone up compared to previous levels, mainly due to a higher demand but a lower supply, as airlines have been slow to return to full capacity, and add to that the current economic climate in respect of inflation, and now throw into the mix global tension for oil supply, increases fuel costs along with new regulations for airlines concerning health and safety. And it's very easy to see how prices have remained significantly higher than what they once used to be. However, by being intelligent in booking flights well in advance, it's possible to offset some of these increases, and bearing in mind that it's likely to be one of the most important flights I'll ever take in the crossroads of my life, it's a cost that firstly can't be avoided, and secondly, it's actually the key component in relocating to a new life abroad. Like with my approach to accommodation, I regularly kept an eye on prices for flights on a monthly basis. The most realistic option was to fly for me from Manchester Airport to Mactan Airport in Cebu. Now again, my ethos here was to make it as comfortable and as easy as possible by keeping the layovers to an absolute minimum. The first aspect to consider is an obvious one. I wanted the flight to be as quick as possible, and I noticed that there were several different options available at different times. Now, to give you an idea, the quickest, for example, was a 17-hour flight from Manchester with a 1.5-hour stop in Hong Kong and then continuing on to Cebu. That's not too bad. There was also a 25-hour flight from Manchester to Dubai with a 2-hour layover, and then from Dubai to Ninoy Airport in Manila with a 5-hour overnight layover there before continuing on to Cebu. Now, in this particular flight, when landing in Manila and you have to connect to a domestic flight, it's worth noting here that it's notoriously difficult due to the fact that both the terminals are in completely different buildings and are not connected in any way, shape or form. Now, this means that you have to take a connecting shuttle bus to get from one to the other. So you have to allow enough time to go through all the appropriate bag screening and immigration processes in good time. Even more stressful if it's a reverse and you're going from a domestic to an international flight, something that I would want to avoid altogether. Next, we have a 30-hour flight departing Manchester to Paris with a 6-hour layover, then on to Shanghai for another 6-hour layover, and finally on to Mactan, Cebu. The worst being from Manchester to Hamad, Doha, with a 27-hour layover onto Cebu, a total of 44 hours. And that's almost 2 days on the go, and then the grand prize of immigration waiting for you at the end of it. The upshot of all of this is to make it easy on yourself and keep it as simple and as quick and as straightforward as possible, Even if it's likely to cost you more, it's well worth building it into the overall cost of relocating and paying the extra. Now, upon the sale of my watch, the moment the funds came through from eBay, I promised to myself that on that day, I would book my flight to the Philippines. So I simply typed in Manchester to Cebu in Google and clicked on flights. Heading across the top of the browser, I found that it's better to do this than use the results from Google and go individually to other providers listed in the normal search results, as I prefer actually the way that Google displays all of the airline options from providers in a nice, easy-to-view table format showing the cheapest first at the top. Now, viewing the results, I could see a flight departing Manchester, leaving on the day that I wanted around 1 p.m, with a 2-hour layover in Dubai, and it would be arriving in Mactan Airport, Cebu, late afternoon. Total travel time of 18.5 hours, perfect. It would mean an early start, but enough time to be able to make my way down to the airport around 2 or 3 hours by train, and arriving at the airport around 2.5 hours before takeoff. Now, bearing in mind that I have no check-in luggage, this should be more than enough. This particular flight was available to be booked through the carrier United Emirates. Total cost $540 English or $700. Luggage-wise, there is a checked-in luggage allowance of 25 kg and 7 kg for carry-on. Now, as I'm opting for the minimalistic approach, which gets me through the airports much quicker, having just one carry-on bag with my whole world in it as previously detailed, I've made sure that I come in just under 7 kg. I will, however, be taking my very firm NASA memory foam pillow, as I find it very, very difficult to sleep on soft pillows in hotels and other accommodation. For some reason, I just feel like I'm suffocating. This will have to go in a plastic carrier bag separately, along with my swimming knee float. Maybe I'll see if I can get a duty-free carrier bag or something, so it looks like I've made a purchase. The added benefit of being able to check in via the airline app or at a kiosk at the airport gives me even more leeway time-wise. It also means, though, that you're one of the first through customs and immigration. The downside being all eyes will be on you for scrutiny, as opposed to just slipping through as part of the 20 or 30 or more people in one go. Anyway, as I went through the process of booking the ticket, I arrived at the confirm to buy section, and I hovered the mouse above the purchase button for around about a minute and a half. And I was just waiting to see whether there was the slightest bit of resistance or subconscious warning in my mind that at the very last minute would say, don't do it. There was nothing. So in the end, my finger clicked the button and it was done. Now, there's something very definitive about seeing flight details, knowing that you have a seat on a particular plane at a particular time going to a particular destination. That really does finalize everything. So now I'm fully committed.